speeding. Thank you, sir. All right. All right. So, can you start off with just an introduction of yourself? Like, what's your name? Where you're from? How was it growing up? Where you're from?
Okay. Hi, my name is Tiara Bradford, but I go by the name Tia Raye. I'm from Birmingham, Alabama. I was raised in a two-parent household, and both of my parents are Christians, so we all share that same faith and belief. I have one older brother, and we are 5 years apart. I would say my experience growing up was pretty cool. I really got to see the best of both worlds as it relates to people who went forward and achieved academic success, and also the lives of those who took another narrative as far as just being a part of street life. So growing up, I was able to see a lot of things, but because my mother was an educator, she always instilled in me that I had to go to school. Like that was not an option. No matter what it is that I wanted to do, she was just like, you have to go to school. With my dad, I would say he was the same way, except for he is a master plumber. So like he was very adamant about whatever you do, no matter if it's school or whatever, just make sure that, you get money, and that you focus on your securing your future. So from a young age, I just knew that I had to be somebody, I had to do something. But I would say my overall childhood experience was great.
So I know that you rap. How
Uh-huh.
did you? Can you tell me how you got your start in music?
Um, I've always loved words ever since I was a child. Again, my mom was an educator and she always had us in church as well. So because of that, I was a speaker in church. And all through my childhood, her teaching me my literature skills, I just had a natural gravitation to words. It was actually what allowed me to be in advanced classes when I was in elementary school and middle school. They placed me due to my literature scores. So growing up, I think I just kind of found it. Once I realized that I can rhyme and my friends heard me, it just was a hobby that turned into something that, I now currently do.
Nice. Okay, I didn't know that about you. That's cool. So let's get into. Can you tell me how you first met Jay?
Okay, so I first met Jamarian on Snapchat. He had been someone who was messaging me for a while. Our threads dated back to years ago. But in our messages, I would never really give him a chance because he was the kind of person to ask things like, can I spoil you? How much money can I send you? And these things were so immediate, I never really took him seriously. I think one time I did try to see, was he telling the truth? And when he actually got my number, he didn't even text back. So I'm just like, this person, obviously he's, playing some sort of games. But that was many, many years prior. So when he just reached out in recent times, I would say I just gave it a chance. I figured it's years later, maybe this person is really interested in me. If he continues to reach out, why not begin conversation with him? So I shared my number with him through social media. And when we did begin to talk, he definitely told me that he'd been admiring me for a while. And he told me that we actually met in person at one of my shows. He said it was years ago, so maybe I forgot, but he said that we did meet in person, and that's what sparked his interest in me. And then he went on to mention that he follows my social medias, so he knows that when I go live, I like to speak about my spirituality and my belief in God. And he said that that was something really admirable about me, that he was of the Christian faith as well. He was recently rebaptized and he devoted his life again to Christ. So he had actually been praying that God sent him someone who was equally yoked with where he was spiritually. And I was like, wow, okay. So, that kind of took the nervousness away from me meeting someone through Snapchat, because I'm like, okay, maybe he does have an idea of who I am. Plus, spirituality is something that's really important to me. So if this is the reason why he is now gravitating to me, maybe we have some things in common. I don't know.
So let's backtrack a little bit. So early on, what are some of the things that he'd say to you? Like, do you remember like some of the snap messages that he would send? Any?
So some of the Snapchat messages would just be like, sometimes I'll make posts like, I need my hair done today. And he'll send a message like, how much do you need? I'll send it to you. So those are the kind of messages that he shot on Snapchat. So it already gave, the impression that, maybe he had money, and maybe he wasn't, the kind of person who was afraid to actually spend. But like I said, I did give him my number before and he didn't do that. So I was like, okay, maybe I'm thinking about what I can get a little bit too much without even knowing this person. So let me take a step back and let me try to really get to know him. But I was initially under the impression that he had money, because that's how he would message me.
So when he didn't even reach out after he got your number, how did that feel?
That was years ago. It really didn't feel like anything, because that's common of guys to do. I'm not sure why, but a lot of guys like to pretend like they're going to do something to get your number, and then you find out, okay, that's not true. But I never met him, to my knowledge, so there wasn't any emotions or feelings attached to him not responding back.
All right, well, you kind of already answered this, but I do want to re-ask it.
Okay.
Well, you did kind of. The next question was, what was your first impression of?
Okay. Well, we can get further into the story for me to tell that.
Yeah. So what was your first impression of him?
So upon us actually reconnecting, I would say, me giving him my number, and we actually began communication outside of Snapchat. My impressions of him was that he was a very creative young man. He would tell me so many of his accomplishments, and he is younger than me. So, by me being a graduate student and I'm trying to put everything together, I really know the cost of life. And for him to have told me that he was 23 years old, and that he was worth so much money. He began a podcast when he was like 16, which got an increasingly amount of notoriety around the city of Birmingham. He said he started off in some comedy clubs, and actual celebrities such as Steve Harvey and D.L. Hughley took the likeliness of him, and they've been mentoring him. They told him how to invest his money. So at a young age, he was telling me about investment properties that he owned, and his podcast being bought out by iHeartRadio. But he actually had receipts of everything that he was saying, such as billboards, such as interviews online with D.L. Hughley. Already initially upon meeting him, these were the type of things that he was sending me. And I really was just like, okay, I guess if a person is claiming to be worth so much money, I guess they have to prove that as well. So he would just send me even down to contracts, that state the agreement between him and iHeartRadio and how much he was to be paid. All of these things were sent to me. So initially, I'm just like, wow, like you are so young. To have placed all this together. What is it that you're looking for? Like, what do you see in me, as a man so well off to, want to connect? And he told me basically that he lived his whole life already. At the age of 23, he's beat a cocaine addiction. He's overcame homelessness. He said that at the point that he actually started to receive money from his investments, his family, started to use him, and he was alone for a period of time. He was depressed. He even mentioned thoughts of being suicidal, which was something that was really heart pulling for me, because I got my major in mental health psychology, and I currently work in a field as to where I help people from committing suicide each and every day. So that was something that I was like, wow, for you to be of sound mind, you've overcame addiction, and you're telling me that you're connecting to me solely because God placed it on your heart to. So initially it was very strong, but I think the underlining, common denominator between us was that God correlation that he used very heavily.
You just answered all of my next
I'm sorry.
No,
that's why I was like, it's so much to the story. Like, I'm
Right,
trying to condense it, but
the
it's
next
like
questions was
crazy.
What drew you to him?
It could probably get deeper.
So I guess from his perspective, although he did tell you already about like the success that he has, because that next question was going to be how did he describe himself, his work, and his success. You've already pretty much covered that. In the moment where you guys first started like opening up to each other, especially specifically him, was there any like active things that happened like during the time that you talk, like, oh wow, this thing just happened, or this, I just got this contract, or I just met this person, or whatever the case may be? Has there been any moments like that in that time, or was it all previous to you guys sort of getting closer to each other?
So a lot of things were previous, as far as him having a podcast that was successful. That was something that started years prior, and he was able to show me a actual news report of him on ABC News, where someone was interviewing him, congratulating him on his podcast being aired on whatever channel, but it was locally syndicated. So I saw that for myself, and that was years and years ago. But he said that due to the podcast becoming more popular in most recent years, it was bought out. So he was actually in the process of beginning to work for iHeartRadio, but the contract was already signed. And being that, I'm from Birmingham, Alabama, but I live in Atlanta, Georgia, I feel like that's why he was saying that the location was in Atlanta, Georgia, and that he would be moving to Atlanta, Georgia. So that was also a connection as well. I'm like, okay, so you'll be closer to me as well with your new job. And his new job was supposed to start in June. So this is something very, very recent. This probably happened in the last 2 or 3 months. So yes, him actually beginning work with iHeartRadio was something that we both were awaiting. However, he would respond to emails. He would answer phone calls. Hey, I got to go to a meeting. All of those things he actively participated in doing.
What's happening? That's great. I'm going off the topic here. How did your family feel about? Did you tell your family about him when you first met?
Okay, so initially I only told my friends, my best friend. That's just because he was a guy I just met. He says he's a millionaire, girl. We're having good conversation. Let me tell you about him, type thing. And quite early on, he paid off my car. He used his card to pay off my car. And how that came about was because he tried to offer me a gift. And I think it was like a Louis Vuitton purse or some kind of expensive purse. And I think it was supposed to be worth like $10,000 or something. And I'm just like, I really wouldn't feel comfortable accepting a $10,000 purse, and I don't have $10,000 times 5 inside of my purse. You know, I'm really focused on other things. Plus I'm sharing a home with a friend right now. I'm driving a Kia. I'm just explaining my situation. I'm like, you know, I have other things to focus on than things that, you know, are meaningfulest. And he was saying, well, you know what, let me make it easier for you. I prayed for you. I know that God wants me to be with you. He even said, you know, when I shot you a message, this time you responded. I prayed right before I sent it. And I said that if you did not respond to this message, then this would be the last time that I tried to even reach out. So the fact that you responded, I know it's God's timing. I keep seeing 11:11, you know. I keep seeing 11:11 whenever we have conversations. So, you know, don't worry about your car payment. That's something that I want to prove myself to you and pay that off for you.
So when he said that to you, was that a phone call? Was it a text message?
So it was phone call, it was text message, it was in person. By this time we actually met up. And this is just like something that he really pushed the issue on.
So actually let's go with that. So what was it like the first time you and him actually physically met each other?
Okay, so the first time that we physically met each other, it was in Atlanta, Georgia. And like I said, I travel back and forth between Atlanta and Birmingham often. And I think that he said he was already going to be in Atlanta during a period of time, some things for his podcast. He'd be out there with a friend. So we scheduled a time to meet. And he actually came to where I stayed. And then we also went out to dinner as well. But
what you guys go to dinner?
We went to Ruth Chris. Yeah.
Okay. Let me pull in my questions here. What did you guys talk about on your first night out at dinner?
Okay, so we really just discussed things of this nature, as I was telling you about just gifting. You know, he really wanted to know how did I feel about having someone to take care of me. And I really explained that that's nothing that's ever happened before. Not for a man to take the sole responsibility of all of my expenses. Of course, being from a 2-parent household, you know, I've always seen 2 people work together, but also them remain individuals. So even if my parents were to part ways, I know that both of them will be financially stable, you know. So that's something that I explained to him, that even though you make all this money, you know, I still need to be well off on my own. So that's when we started talking about just where I was staying, how did I feel about where I was staying, you know, what's my dream car, what's my dream vacation. I mean, he was really just trying to pick my brain to see the things that I like, and he was telling me the things that he could actually do for me.
How did that feel?
It was something I'm not gonna say that I wasn't used to, because I am used to, you know, men offering me things, but this is on another level, you know, because you're supposed to be a millionaire. So I'm feeling like, I don't know, just why now? That's my real question. Like, why is it that, you know, you of all this status, you know, why is it that you want little old me, you know? But like I said, he found a way to make it feel like we had a connection, even without me being able to validate some of the things that he was saying. But it did feel good. It was a mysteriousness about it, because I'm just like, this is a lot. But shortly after, he asked me what was my dream vacation. I told him it was to go to Jamaica. I've never been before. He literally had tickets booked around the time of my birthday. Sent them to my email. And one day he was just like, check your email. And that was actually the first thing. It was like, check your email. And I looked, and it was 2 tickets. I still have the tickets on my phone. It was 2 tickets, and I asked my homegirl, I'm like, is this real? Like, we're going to be in the prime minister's suite, girl? I'm like, I mean, we had a good first encounter, but I don't know him, like that. But I'm just like, look at it. Like, I sent her the email. She was like, yeah, girl. So I was excited at first. And then it was around my birthday. So yeah, that was the first thing that kind of made him credible in my eyes. And then the second thing was that, again, like I was telling him, I want to focus on the things that matter, not necessarily a purse. So I think one day he gave me his card, and he allowed me to use the information to pay off my car. And when I logged into my Kia account, it was at a 0 balance. So not only am I going to Jamaica, my Kia is paid off. So at this time, I'm just like, should I tell my parents? Like, I know my parents are older. I really don't bring people around my parents or tell them about anyone unless it's serious. But I'm just like, my dad's the co-signer on my car. My car just got paid off. I think I have to tell them something. And then for him to also, like I said, have offered me a job. That was something else that we were discussing. He said that iHeartRadio was still hiring. And they were in need of a podcast manager. And like I said, I am an artist. I do all my social media. I run my social media myself. My creative direction, I do it myself. So he was saying that he was familiar with my online campaign, and he would love to utilize my creative eye in being a part of his podcast. So it's bought out by iHeartRadio, but of course it's the Jay Walker talk show, and I would be a creative manager. And he told me how much the job paid. Shortly after, someone was sending me a contract stating the salary. I still have that contract as well. So I'm just like, I'm talking to my best friend, and it's, oh, sorry.
No, I want to pause it. But I want to get right back to that. Do you remember the exact moment when you received the email?
The exact moment when I received the email.
Like, what were you doing at the time? Like when you received the email?
See, these kind of things were I knew he was going to get it done for me. Like it was one of those things, because he's the big man in charge, so he's going to demand whoever this person is to send me an email. So I was waiting on the email, but I'm just like, hey, what's she gonna say today? What's going on? And he was like, let me make a phone call. It was one of those kind of things. And then he made a phone call, and it was sent. And I'm just like, okay. Not only do I have a job, or I'm going to get a job, but like, this is sweet. He telling what to do, right? I'm with the boss man. Yeah. That's how I felt. So again, the information that I received told me my salary. It was like, I think like $100,000 or something greater. Like, it was a large amount of money.
Yeah, I think it said 180.
Yeah.
It's 180.
Yeah.
So can you restate that one more time?
Okay, it was like $180,000 if I'm not mistaken, but I do have that as well, still in my email address. And I was like, okay, so I do have to tell my parents because my car is paid off. He was promising that he would buy me a new car. And I'm just like, if I pull up in a Mercedes from this Kia, it's gonna be a lot of eyebrows raised. So when I told my parents about him, I didn't want to put it on so heavy just because it was a lot going on. But I did tell them that I met a person. You all can research him yourself. His name is Jay Walker. He's actually a millionaire. We met. I think he likes me. I wouldn't say we're dating just yet, but we're still getting to know each other. But he definitely offered me a job. And my car is paid off. So.
Just to go back over that moment, what did it feel like when you logged into your Kia account? It's 0 balance.
That felt great because I was paying that car note every month faithfully. Okay, I think I had about 72 months left. So to see it go to a zero, um, and this is something that I felt like I was doing as an independent, decision. Like I'm accepting a new job, I'm allowing someone to spoil me in these ways. Like I was really actually proud of my decision making. So I'm like, my dad, like I said, he was a co-signer. So I'm like, I'm going to be able to tell him that I've done something to improve my credit as well. I just paid off something, so I'm feeling really, really great, really, really excited to share the news with my family as well.
We're gonna pause there 1 second. Okay.
Yeah, it dropped, I guess.
Yeah, but this is still wrong.
Okay. I would say he was very convincing as far as he had all of the receipts that were necessary to prove himself. And they weren't just pictures, they were online publications. There were videos of him standing outside of billboards with his face on it. There were home gatherings of him inside of mansions with his family celebrating different accomplishments. Again, there were YouTube videos of him interviewing celebrities such as Tamla Mann and D.L. Hughley. So for me, it was really like, oh my goodness, like I can't believe I haven't heard of this person necessarily, but he had everything necessary that was believable for what it was that he was saying. Now, there were some red flags that were just peculiar to me, but those were things that I was still trying to figure out myself. And those red flags really just concerned me as far as spirituality was concerned, because he did say that he was an evangelist. Every Sunday he would show me, he would be like, press this button for me to pay my tithes. And he would pay like $50,000 to a church or $100,000. But when it came to the nature of his jokes, because I was always trying to, go online and find his comedy, if you start off as a comedian, where can I see your podcast? And again, his podcast did take you to links that were associated with iHeartRadio. But some of his older comedy took you to his YouTube channel. And on his YouTube channel, that's really where you saw the majority of him doing stand-up versus him doing audio podcasts. So when I would watch his stand-up, he had a lot of jokes that were concerning the LGBTQ community. Even in person, a lot of his humor would be involving homosexuality. It was like a dark humor, but it really didn't necessarily end. So I just asked him, I was like, hey, and tell me the truth if you can. Have you ever, had any kind of relationships, with a male? Because I've never, dated anyone who has been proclaimed to be bisexual, but I do know, that there are men who identify with that sexuality, and if that's the case, then if you would just be honest with me, we can move forward from there. But the energy that he gave around that question was just very like homophobic, and he was just like, I'm not this word or that word, these derogatory terms. But his comedy really centered that. And it wasn't just like off of the stage or off of his podcast. It was like really in person. Like he would just say certain things, and I'm just like, okay, that's not even funny anymore. But he said that with the demographics of his podcast, a lot of his listeners up north were a part of the LGBTQ community. So it was something that he had to do to make those kind of jokes. But he said that around me, if that was something that was upsetting or disturbing, that was something that he wouldn't do, because again, he is a Christian. And he says that that's nothing that identifies with him. He actually said that as his market began to grow with interviewing people like Tamla Mann, he was getting more Christian followers. So he actually wanted to make sure that that was something that he voiced in his business setting, that he wanted to demand that they begin to change, the kind of jokes they make him say, because of the following that he is now getting. So that was something that was just like, okay, it seems as though, you are willing, to bend some principles, to have an audience. However, it seems a bit hypocritical, with the way that you do things. And so that was something that I felt like maybe my parents would question me about, because again, I knew they were going to do their research, and they did. So my dad would be like, congratulations, for getting this job. Now you can be in this environment and learn so much about entertainment. But he did ask me, I saw some of his interviews, and do you think, that Jay Walker is, what do you think about him? Do you think he's, gay, or do you think he's bisexual? And I'm just like, no, that's never what he told me. That's never what, things have been. And at the time I was still easing my parents into it, but I was like, we're talking to each other, but this is more about a business type of thing. Like, this is more about me getting a job. That's how I was putting it to my parents, so I can make it make sense as to why I would be able to pay off my car. However, in the midst of all of this going on, my Kia payment came back. Now, that was something that was a red flag for me as well, because I always pay my car payment on time. And when he first paid it off, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. You're doing great. I'm going to go right to the Kia part.
Okay.
Let's just have it to where it's like, so I wake up this day, and how did you find out that it bounced back? Did they call you? Did they email you?
Okay, so I found out that it bounced because I got an email, and I believe that it was requesting for me to actually pay my car note. And I was like, that's crazy, because it's totally paid off. Last time I logged in, it was at a zero balance. So let me now check. And so typically I pay $400 for my car note. This time it was $550. Because not only did I not pay it, that it was also saying that it was late and I need to pay it immediately. So I went to him, and I'm just like, hey, what's going on? I thought you paid it off. Was something wrong? And this was a time period. So it's a lot going on between the time that my car payment rejected and us getting to know each other, and events that elapsed. So this is at the point where he's explaining to me that it must be an issue with his card. His routing numbers must be incorrect, and that he'll go ahead and use another card and pay it off. And that's what I allowed him to do. So I saw my car payment go to a zero amount again. So this made me feel good, because I'm like, okay, well, I guess it's been successfully paid off. Nothing was registering to me at that point. That was a red flag that totally went away once the second payment was successful. But in the meantime of him initially paying off my car, he did come to visit me. And when he came to visit me, he came to one of my shows. And at my show, he claimed to have lost his wallet. So this was something that was a very peculiar time, I'd say, to have lost his wallet, because I was just telling my parents about him. And of course, my mom is like, I need to see his ID. I need to see his identification, because I need to know who this person is. And it was just so crazy that he lost his wallet shortly after I told him about that. Not only did he lose his wallet, he lost access to everything in it, including his driver's license, his cards. He's basically just like, hey, I have to cancel all my cards. It's going to take me a period of time to be able to, reinstate all of these things. I could have so much business to handle. And he was just really pouring into me all of the things that he had to do. But again, he had just paid off my car. So I think it came to a dollar amount that he really needed. And I think it was like $500 or something.
Okay, pause there 1 second. Do you remember, was that in person he asked you that, or through text or through a call?
Now, this is through text message.
Okay, so can we, I guess, restate it so where it's like, so I remember this one time that he texted me, and then just kind of go into that.
Okay. So I remember, let me know when you're ready.
Grab my hand because it's in his Zoom.
Ready?
It's a little tight. Yeah,
Okay, so I remember one time that he texted me and he told me that he was in his office buildings back home in Birmingham, Alabama. And he said that the lights had been turned off in the building, and that he was really upset with the department who's supposed to cover those things because he had already paid the balance for it. But now he has to figure out who made an error and what to do. So basically he was telling me that his co-host was someone named Sean. And he was saying that Sean, which was the co-host to his podcast, would loan him some money to be able to cover those expenses. Comes to find out that he didn't. So as he was complaining about this, I said, hey, how much is it that you really need to go ahead and get your day started so that everything works out for you during production? And he told me it was like $600, but there were still some other things that he needed to be able to just wait until his cards got reinstated. So I actually sent him $1,000. And when I sent over the money, he was just like, wow, I can't believe you sent this much money. Thank you, super. When I get my check, there's a check that I'll be receiving probably before I actually receive my cards. And I'll make sure that I give you double for your trouble, plus interest. So I'm like, cool. And again, my car was paid off. We had a trip booked to Jamaica. I'm just feeling like, why wouldn't I help someone who's obviously, just helped me? So again, what should I go from there? I'm sorry.
That's fine. No. What about at what point did he start talking to you about your living situation and like changing how you?
Okay. So my living situation was something that was discussed since the beginning of us conversing, just getting to know each other, figuring out where I stay, where he stays. And I told him already, that, hey, I share a home. This is how much I pay, and this is my plan for myself. This is how much I put in my savings. This is how I maneuver. So he basically explained that, to pair with the car that he wanted to purchase for me, he also wanted to buy me, my dream home. So he would ask me, where do you want to stay? Where do you see yourself living? In addition to, I have this job that starts in June. So we were going to be starting around the same time. It's paying $180,000. I'm really, really, really looking for the nicest place that I can find. And during this process, he is helping me apartment search. I'm telling him that I want a high-rise location. He's sending things to me. This is something that's going on through text, through phone call. He's just like really adamant about, hey, like, I'm going to get you out of here. So we ended up touring some apartments together. And I really fell in love with them. They were like $3,500 a month. And he told me, hey, if you love it, don't settle. You're Tia Raye. You're a star. You need to be staying somewhere that meshes well with who you are.
Describe the apartment for me.
Okay.
Describe what you liked about the apartment. Sorry.
Okay, so what I liked about the apartment was that it was just one of my dream apartments, meaning that when I first went off to college, I went to Tuskegee University, and I pretty much had an idea of how my life would go. As far as the car that I would drive, as far as where I would stay. And I would always see girls that do their first apartment tour, and it would be somewhere downtown, high rise, really beautiful, floor to ceiling windows, walk-in closets, closets that expand off the bathroom to have vanities, and they would just, walk around the house just living their Black girl luxurious life, so for me, I just knew that was something I always wanted. I'm going to live high rise downtown somewhere. I have to. And that's exactly what the apartments look like. They look like someone's expensive luxury high rise apartment tour on YouTube. Really beautiful, newly updated. We have a concierge 24 hours. I mean, it's something really, really beautiful, but also really expensive. Okay, so after I finished touring apartments, we agreed that basically he would pay my bills up for an entire year, so that I would not have to worry about those things. Of course, when you apply for an apartment, you have to make so much money. However, with my proof of income, I was able to show my future income, as well as, I do work 2 jobs. I was able to show that to be able to prove that, I was eligible to go forth with the apartments. Upon moving in, again, he literally helped me the entire day of moving out of my home, transitioning my things, like as far as cleaning up was concerned, just cleaning up everything, putting things in boxes. Like, he was really hands-on in the moving process. So when I was really about to move in, he was like, I will pay for the initial amount for you to move in, because it totally surprised me. I thought that the first 8 weeks, according to the agreement, was free. So when we were going to the actual apartments, I called them and they were like, hey, if you want to pick up the key, you have to go ahead and pay $3,500. And I was just like, oh, where am I going to do that? I'm looking at him. I'm like, hey, we didn't know this. So he was like, no worries. I'm going to go ahead and use my card, as he did. And I called my leasing office, and they were able to verify that $3,500 amount went through. So at this point, I'm feeling really great. I'm like, okay, I got a job on the way. Everything was approved for these apartments. Plus, he literally just paid, the $3,500 amount for me to move in. So I'm feeling confident that, everything is legitimate. Upon moving in, as far as furniture, he told me that he would pay for my furniture. So we went furniture shopping. However, while we were in the store, when they tried to do the amount on his card, it was unable to go through. So he was again using an excuse about a routing number or something being incorrect. He had so many cards, so many, banking accounts. And if I would see what I would be approved for the loan amount, I think it was like $6,000 worth of furniture. And I was really getting the most luxurious furniture that I could. I mean, I was buying mirrors that cost $1,000, beds that lit up. I mean, and he's in there like, get it, whatever you want, you can get it, and I'm going to pay for it. So when we got to the end, he's just like, okay, it didn't work for me to take out this in my name because it was a credit amount. He was like, try it in yours. It went through. And he was just like, I'll give you that amount each month. Don't worry about it. It was $500 to be fixed. I forgot over what period of time, but he said he was going to cover it each and every month. Again, I believed him because, the amount went through, successfully the second time for my car, as well as, he just paid for me to move in. So, okay, even if push comes to shove and I have to pay this amount on my own, whatever, it's just $500, I can handle it. So again, this is all very, very swift. And I'm trying to explain it to my parents. They had already told me, hey, he paid off your car. That's great. But make sure you don't move so fast, before the job really starts. But why would he do all of this if he's unable? And they're really believing, the situation too. Me deciding to go ahead and move out, that was something I just did on my own. I'm saying, hey, I believe it more than you all, everything is going in my favor already. I'm just going to shoot the gun and have faith. And again, we really talked a lot about God, and I think that's I think that's the most hurtful part about it all, because I've really already been through a lot in my life, and a lot of things I disclosed to him. So my faith in God just runs really, really high, as far as knowing that, he has blessings in store for me. So to a lot of people, I was, naive to believe, that all of these good things would come by way of Jay Walker. But honestly, my faith was really in God, in the knowing that he promised me some things. And I just felt like I was walking into a season of my life where God was showing me, that things do get better. I really didn't think that this was another lesson for me. I thought that, my my faith was finally beginning to change. And the fact that we had conversations about, things that occurred in my life, as he would set things up for my success, he would say, I'm so happy for you. I'm so happy for what God is doing in your life. And I am, so honored to be a part of your story, because I know that, God put you in my life for a reason. And if I'm able to do things for you, I will, because God is telling me this is what I have to do for you because of your anointedness. I mean, he would say some really powerful things. God puts you through things for so long, and he wants you to win, which was always my motto. God wants me to win. And he would say that as well. He would reaffirm that God does want you to win, and this is your winning season. He didn't say it like he wanted any kind of gain from helping me. He would just make it seem like he was so honored to be a part of my story, and that was something really, really powerful for me. So even early on, he would already say things like, you will be my wife. I'm doing these things specifically for you because God told me, and I know that he has his hand on you. And when I would share those things with my mom, we got a spiritual connection, my mom and I. Of course, she's like, be careful, but she's just like, he knows your anointedness. Like, he can see that, you know what I'm saying? Still be careful, but understand that he knows that you're a part of God's chosen people, So that was a unique bond that we had, and that's why I really, really, really just believe that, hey, good things are unfolding for me. And even though it was swift, I just thought it was according to God's plan, as I still do believe. Anyway, I went forward on my own with moving into this apartment situation. And again, I'm already inside. At this point, I just tell my parents, this is what's going on. And they are shocked, but they were very proud of me, because this is my first apartment, on my own, not living with any roommates. And again, I'm the only daughter. I'm living in Atlanta, Georgia by myself. So they were extremely proud that I was able to move somewhere luxurious. And it was in my name, totally mine. Okay, sorry.
No, you need to take a breath.
No, I'm good. I probably need to check the screen to see my face.
Oh, no, okay.
I brought a little makeup. So, I can say that Jay Walker is really great at dream selling. I would say he gets to know you through conversation to see the things that you like, and then he begins to present these things to you. So from the beginning, what kind of car would I love to drive? What kind of home would I love to live in? Those were the kind of questions that he was already asking. And being that I rejected his offer for a purse, he started to say more things that would appeal to me, like, hey, what if I pay off your car? What if I get you another car? Things like that early on. So he had already asked me to look on Carvana. And see, what kind of cars that I liked. And I think I looked up some kind of Mercedes, like a SUV style. And immediately he was just like, here you go. You got it. Look at this screenshot. And the screenshot was like a photo verifying that he had just made the purchase. It was a screen recording, a video like, hey, everything is processing. And he sent me these things to verify right away. So I'm just like, okay, I guess I got a car coming. So a car was always coming. But we had some run-ins with the car actually being picked up. And in the process of us trying to pick up the car from Carvana, the apartment thing is going on as well. So for me, all the mishaps that we ran into from getting that Mercedes from Carvana, they were kind of overruled because I'm obviously moving into an apartment. It's just a lot going on. So we'll worry about a car, after I get settled into this apartment, since this is what's going on first. But with Carvana, we actually went to the Carvana dealership together. And we waited for so long for a reserve pickup. And when we finally talked to the people, they were just like, hey, the car has to be stuck at another port. They haven't brought it in yet. This happens sometimes. We're so sorry. We don't really deal with the people who drop off the cars, but come back. So it was one of those things. Whenever we came, there was no car, and it's just like, we're here for our reserve time. So I actually told him, forget the car, especially from Carvana. If you want to get me a car, let's go get me a 2025 car right off the lot, since, you should be able to do that, right? So he's just like, well, I'm looking for a car for myself. I'm looking for a Tesla, so let's go to the Tesla dealership and let's go to the Mercedes dealership. We get there and he actually has a Tesla account. So that allows him to test drive, Tesla cars, and they give him the keys and we're just riding all around. So all of this for me is just more confirmation that, okay, this is the kind of lifestyle that he lives. Because why else would they give you a Tesla membership if you don't frequent, Tesla? So he orders this Cybertruck for himself, and I have videos of us in the Cybertruck. He's just like, record me driving. I'm going to send this to my celebrity friends, like the Clark sisters and all these different people. Make sure you get the Clark sisters music playing in the background. So he's just riding around singing, I'm living a blessed life. Look, we both singing in the Tesla. We just singing the Clark sisters. I'm recording him. And then he's like, play some of your music. I'm playing some of my music. All of this stuff is good content for my Instagram. So I'm just loving it. I'm like, this is great. My man or whatever, he about to buy him a car. He about to buy me one too. So he actually, literally, we're in the Tesla dealership. He closes on the car. He gives all this information. We're supposed to be all good. He has to pick it up at a certain date. I saw that with my eyes. I was there with him. We go to the Mercedes dealership. We're looking for cars for myself. This man has me in the cars with the lights on the ceiling. He's like, whatever year you want, whatever model you want, find it and it's yours. So I forgot, it's like a 2025 G-Wagon. I'm telling you, that thing was nice. It had the the gray glossy paint. It was metallic. The insides were like red, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, it was nasty. And I think that car was like $250,000 or something steep, you know. And I remember our car agent's name. His name was Benjamin. And Benjamin was just like, oh, you whatever she say goes, huh? And he's just like, you know how it is, man. Whatever she want, you know. He just acting like he just got it, you know. So when he tells him that price, he kind of like, whew, he touches his chest and he's just like, you know, I've never, you know, spent this much money on a woman. You must know that you're going to be my wife and that God placed you in my life. So I'm just like, hey, man, brother, say it then, step. So we're sitting down with Benjamin. He actually asked if I would walk off because I guess it was going to be a surprise or whatever. And they ended up shaking hands and we left. So we get to the car and he makes a phone call and he's just like, yeah. You know, we're going to go through with it. Like, consider it done, all this stuff. So it sounds like he's finalizing the deal, but he's not really talking to me. He's just talking on the phone. So I'm like, okay, I guess my car is coming. I was really excited. He'd actually found a way to get my best friend's number off of social media. And he's just like, you know, I'm surprising Tia with a car. So he actually even told my friend and he's just like, how should we set this up for her? And she's just like, you know, being a best friend, like, this is what you should do, put a bow on it, do this, you know, all this stuff. So it's a whole surprise being organized for me to pick up this Mercedes car. But yeah, a lot of things, you know, transpired before that actually happened, me quote unquote picking up the car. My actual Kia that I owned at the time that he was paying off. Now, again, this is all during the period where he's still unable to have access to a lot of his, you know, identifications that he's still waiting for. So during the first time that my car payment rejected, it took like a period of like almost 2 weeks before it actually returned. And again, this raised no alarm for me because he was quickly able to fix it. So I wasn't noticing that, hey, it really did take a long time before that returned. So during this next set of time, this is when we're car shopping and we're doing all of these things. And I've already went forward with signing a lease and expecting furniture and all of these things. This is when my car payment returns again. And I'm just like, hey, you know, at this point, what's really going on? Like, what's going on with your cards? You know, I'm not understanding, you know, why, you know, these things are returning if you're supposed to have all of this money. And he's just explaining, you know, I lost all of my, you know, cards. I had to call and do a lot of, you know, verifications and I had to change numbers around. So maybe it's a security thing going on. But I promise you, you're all good. Let's just focus, you know, on the apartment and everything else that's going on. Mind you, you know, during this time when we go out to eat, you know, I'm paying for all of these things because I'm waiting for him, you know, to really get his money in order to be able to pay me back the money that he owed. And then also, you know, all of the things, you know, in between, he said that, of course, he would take care of those things as well. So I think we went bowling or somewhere. No, actually, if I'm not mistaken, it was actually when we were looking for cars, he had taken a picture of me and he posted that picture to his social media. And I didn't know that he'd done that, but he put it on his story. And that is when a girl messaged me on Instagram and she was like, hey, you know, I don't want to say anything about your relationship. But I do want to talk to you about the person that you're dating, and it is for your protection. So when I saw protection, I'm like, girl, you know, we have to chat ASAP because, you know, there are some things that, you know, are a bit offsetting about Jay. So if you have, you know, some more insight, you know, please tell me. I didn't take offense to her messaging at all. We exchanged numbers, and right away, her story sounded just like mine. Yeah. So she told me that he loves to love bomb. You know, as far as saying he prayed for you or he manifested you, he did the same thing to her. But she said that she had her parents involved because she was much younger than me. And she had her parents involved the entire way. So they were kind of on alert about who he was. And she said that he tried to invite her somewhere, like to a home that was supposed to belong to him, but the address was not really a real address, and he couldn't really explain it. And her and her parents just had to like turn away or something like that, she was explaining. And I'm just like, you know, well, he did tell me that he lived in this home, you know, and she's just like, no way he has ever stayed in a home before. And I'm like, he sent me a video of him having, you know, a housewarming party in his mansion. And she's just like, girl, you know, he does things like, you know, try to make sales on homes just so he can get footage of him being inside of places, but he never really owns these places. Like, she's just telling me, you know, all of these things, and it sounds so outlandish and so crazy, but I'm like, what does she have to lie to me about? And she's like, you know, don't accept any kind of gifts from him as far as, you know, vehicles, because she reached out to some other people who have had experiences with him, and he gives girls stolen cars. And in one instance that she mentioned, and this is a story that she was telling from another girl's, you know, perspective, she said that he gifted a girl a stolen car and the police actually arrested her. And then she proceeded to send me mug shots from when he was arrested for like third-degree forgery. I mean, just all kinds of receipts. And I'm just like, okay.
How did that make you feel in the moment?
It was just like, am I on an episode of CSI Miami? Like, is this like a Lifetime movie? I really didn't know what to do because I was already living out my own experiences with him. Like, I'm in an apartment that I really can't afford to be in. Is this job real? Is it not real? Who is this person? Like, it was just, you know, a lot of concern that was raised. And at this point, you know, if I'm not mistaken, he was like right in front of me. So I'm like, okay, I have to deal with, I don't know if this is an episode of Snap, like, is he psychotic, you know, but he doesn't know that I know this information. So now I have to play a role around this person until I figure out what the hell is going on.
Wow. Okay. Did you ever question him about?
Yes.
Said? So tell me about the time. Tell me about the time that you questioned him, but kind of explain like how you were feeling. Like, did you have to psych yourself up to question him about it? Was it scary to do so, or?
I mean, he's not a scary person, you know, as far as being around him. Like, you know, he gives the vibes, it's like being soft as a feather, you know. So I was never like intimidated by him, even though he was taller in stature and he is bigger. I was never scared that like he was going to physically harm me. Now, when I found out this information, I'm just like, what the hell are your motives? And anyone who could, you know, lie to this extent. I mean, he had told me that he was 23. She told me that he was 21. So, I mean, to lie to these extents, I mean, what is it that you're gaining by giving people stolen vehicles? You know, so anybody who can conjure up this kind of foolishness, I'm thinking could be dangerous. This is just an episode of, you know, CSI or something crazy. I don't know. So immediately, now this is when I had already moved into my apartments. So he would come over to visit. So he was actually there. So I really didn't hesitate, to start prying at some things. And really, honestly and truly, there were already a lot of other small, weird things that were going on. So it was just like the perfect time to just lay out everything. For example, my dad would start receiving text messages out of the blue from someone, and the text messages would read, "Oh, your daughter has a new boyfriend and he's worth $100 million. Did you know about this?" And my dad is like, "Who's texting me?" And I would have weird numbers to text my phone as well. But it would say things like, if you're seeing the number 111, then you're on the right track. So I would just question him like, "Hey, never in my life have people been playing on my phone since I've met you." And he would explain to me that, "Hey, I am a millionaire. A lot of people just start doing weird things as far as playing on my phone, playing on my relative's phone. I didn't want to tell you, all the things that come with me, because I didn't think that they would affect you. But obviously someone has gotten your number out of my phone and now they're texting you as well." And I'm just like, "Well, how did they get my dad's number?" He's just like, "I have no idea, but this has been a problem in a lot of my relationships. People just can't take what comes with me. And a lot of people are mad at me for a lot of things. They play on my phone. When they find out that I'm happy, this is the kind of thing that they do." So that was something that was already odd to me. And I was telling my best friend about it, and she's just like, "Well, none of this stuff has ever happened, before you met him. So maybe he's telling the truth, but, this is just something to, be on alert about." So after she called me, and mind you, he would send me long messages to affirm his feelings for me. And the way that he would type looked so chat GPT. As well as the messages that he would send me, well, I wouldn't say him, the message that he says other people would send me, they look like they were formatted by the same person. So I always thought like, okay, why are you sending me weird messages? I always thought that it was him.
So what types of things would be on those messages?
So it would just be like, if you're seeing 111, things like that, like, basically trying to affirm that he's this person for me. The universe is telling me that I'm on the right life path. And sometimes he would just text me 111, 222, and I'm just like, for this person to be playing on your phone, why does it parallel with the things that you're really saying? Like, they must have a voice recording thing on your phone. Like, why are they texting me these things? So anyway, my dad, like I said earlier, I've been through a lot of things in my life. Actually, due to the evil doings and the evil thoughts of other people, I've suffered like a lot already before. So when these people were playing on my dad's phone, my dad is just like, this time nothing is going to happen to my daughter. Like, I don't know who the bleep y'all are, but something's going to happen to you. So like, we're really taking my safety seriously because I've already been through something bizarre before. So like, it's really raising an alert for my family, for my friends. And I'm explaining to him, hey, whatever's going on in your life, it does not need to trickle into my life. He mentions things like the Illuminati. He mentioned things about, just signing contracts and the kind of compromising positions he's been in, the kind of things that he's seen. And, if he vocalized certain things, he would lose his job or he could possibly be harmed. So, all of these text messages, like, he's just telling me he's telling me he doesn't know who it comes from, but, he's in a lot of positions as to where people would try to blackball him or blackmail him. And his cousins would call, his family members. He had an uncle named Chuck. He would call and be like, tell her about my life. And this person would go on for hours. I mean, hey, he's a really good person. People are just harassing him, believe in the bond that you all have. He really cares about you. His uncle was like a verifying source for him to kind of like say, hey, it's a lot of madness that you all are kind of dealing with, but trust and believe that, you know, my nephew is this great person. So once that girl did have that phone conversation with me, and again, she told me, you know, that she was also like, she was close to some of his family members as well. So when I was asking her a lot of questions, I'm like, girl, you know, now I did have some red flags about him. You know, I told her the things concerning, you know, the spirituality, the jokes and things that he would make. And he actually disclosed to me, and he would say so many things that really made you believe his story and the reason why he act the way that he did. He told me that as a child, when living with his grandmother was negligent a little bit to the home, and she had a neighbor, and the neighbor was her age, like probably in her 70s or so. And as a young child, whenever he would go to his grandmother's friend house, his grandmother's friend would actually rape him, sexually assault him. And he also told me, and I asked him, well, you know, have you ever had, you know, that to have happened to you, you know, on the reverse side? And this was during the time where I was trying to see, you know, you told me that you're not bisexual, or, you know, you've never had any homosexual experiences, but you have all these jokes. And, you know, just tell me, like, we were really on that level of intimacy as to where, like, he would confide in me, you know, personal things. And that's another reason why, you know, I really thought that we had a close bond, because he told me that his uncle forced him into a dark closet one day, and ever since then he has no recollection of what happened. He just kind of gets upset whenever he's around his uncle. So for me, his feminine tendencies and the way his mannerisms were carried out, even down to the humor that he felt like was funny. Like I said, I have a psychology degree, so I'm really thinking, like, you know, this is a trauma inflicted person, paired with, you know, the fact that you've had a cocaine addiction, you've had all this success, you know, you really, you know, are an unhealed person, you know, trying to make the best of your new life, you know, within Jesus Christ. So as far as a lot of things that were different about him, I just canceled it out, because I'm just like, I understand his story. But in talking to that girl on the phone, she said, oh, that's a damn lie. She said that man would pass a lie detector test strictly because of his belief of his own lies. She said that he was a narcissist. His family doesn't deal with him only because he has tried to scam so many people, even people in his family. And I'm just like, what, girl? You know, this is absolutely crazy. He would make up, you know, an awful childhood like that. Like, who would make up these things? Like, at this point, he sounds like, I don't know, America's worst villain or something. Like, just someone terribly psychotic, and there's no real reason as to why he does anything that he does. She told me that he was actually homeless, and that he does this as a means to get money from people. He sells them dreams, because he did have a podcast before, and he did have some small successes, but he lost a lot because he was trying to scam and be fraudulent towards people. And now he uses everything from his past to try to portray that he's still, you know, well off and doing great. So again, this was a lot for me to digest, and I'm going into my living room, and this person is sitting in my living room. Mind you, she told me that he's really good at making false documents. So I'm just like, you know, when he comes to visit me in Atlanta, I work from home, so he'll leave and act as if he's going to work. And I'm just like, well, who are you on the phone with? Who's all these business people that you're talking to? Where are these locations that you're actually going to? Actually, at the time of me walking in that living room, he had just gotten back from work, quote unquote, a long day at the office, relocating, moving things. So at this point, I'm just like, okay, if we are in a Tyler Perry movie, we must be in a Tyler Perry movie. Let's go. So, I walk up to him and I'm just like, I'm so tired of these people playing on my phone. And he's just like, what are they texting you now? And I'm just like, at this point, I had already screenshotted the girl's messages, and she told me to keep her completely confidential, so I took her name off. But as far as the mug shots that she sent me, some of the text messages that she sent me on Instagram before we had that phone conversation, I screenshotted it, and I'm just like, these people who have been texting me all this stuff, they're texting me things about you now. And he's just like, what? He's like, who could these people, why are they, I have no idea who these people could be, but they're sending you my mugshot. They're sending you things saying that I'm a scammer. I can't believe this. And he like grabs his head. He's just like, I wanted to tell you all these things myself. I can't believe that, it could be my own friends. It could be my own family. When I tell you all, like, oh my God, he starts crying. He's like huffing and puffing and about to hyperventilate. I'm just like, are you okay? Is everything all good? He's just like, I just can't believe, people would do this to me. They're always trying to blackball me, and now they got you involved and they're telling you lies. And he was like, I did go to jail, but that was not the way that it was described. And he's just coming up with all these different excuses. But the moral of the story is that he did a lot of women wrong. He slept with a lot of married women. He's abused a lot of women before. He told them lies. He used them for a lot of things. But that was the younger him. And a lot of these women are still upset at him. He has a lot of family members that ask for money all the time that he says no to. So there is an entire hate committee behind Jay Walker, and they actually harass his phone, and they must have seen our pictures. They must, be aware of his care for me, and they want to separate us. So this is what he's feeding me in my kitchen, okay? And I'm just like, okay, if that's what you're saying is true, in my mind, I'm just like, okay, I don't know if he has any money or not, but these bills are about to be due. We still have to discuss a plan. So let me play along, enough for me to know how my situation is going to work out. So in the meantime of him talking, he has two phones, and he is just texting so fast on one of his devices. And that's when another one of his devices goes off, and he's just like, look. And I'm just like, what am I looking at? What is this? And it's a text message that he received to his phone that said, we just aired out your dirty laundry. We just sent your girlfriend at this number all of the information saying that you are a scammer. If you do not send us $1 million by tonight, then we will send her. It was something, if I'm not mistaken, we will send her the sex tape of you and your pastor. First of all, I'm like, what it was just too much for me to digest. In the beginning, I told you all that he would send $40,000 and $50,000 to his church, and I would see him press in on these things because he would allow me to. If I'm not mistaken, this church is now pastored by Pastor Jamal Bryant in Atlanta, Georgia. Previously, I forgot the name of that pastor, Eddie Bishop Long. Now, he was in a scandal that involved homosexual relationships with minors. So, you know, when he showed me this text message, my mind is just ringing all different kinds of places. I'm like, what is going on? Like, who's harassing you? Is this? But then my mind started dinging. Hold on. I sent these text messages to myself. These are screenshots of a conversation between me and a girl on Instagram. How in the heck did somebody just take ownership of what I just did? So this is when I'm just like, okay. You're fucking crazy. Excuse my French. But that's all I can draw from that moment was you are insane. And now I have to figure out what I've got myself into. So I'm still keeping in contact with him, but I still have this expectancy in my mind, like that you're going to pay me back my money. I don't know when, but I know that, you know, for you to do something, you know, like this, you must have some money somewhere. Let me see. So my payment came back. He's still saying that he's going to cover it. Okay. So I think at this point, I'm concerned about the job too. So I call. Okay, we can get to that part. Okay, so at this point, you know, I'm very, very concerned about, you know, iHeartRadio. I'm stuck in this 12-month agreement where I'm supposed to pay $3,500 rent, utilities not included, amenity fee not included, roughly like $4,000 a month. And I know that with my current income, I would drown, you know, trying to cover this payment. So I'm like, you know, do I actually even have a job with iHeartRadio? Like, is this contract valid? And it took me actually calling iHeartRadio for myself. And I said, hey, look, this person, you know, is using you all's logo. They have email addresses that has iHeartRadio, you know, at the ending. They have online reports saying that they've been bought out by you all. Can you please tell me what's going on with the Jay Walker show? And I actually tried to record the conversation, but she asked me to stop. She told me that she wasn't willing to do that. But she did look up the reports, and she said that there were slight differences with the URL. She said that there's no Jamarian Walker, there's no Jay Walker. You know, looking at the reports herself, she said he may have had something with them, you know, maybe a conversation, but nothing that has been solidified, you know, by them enough for them to say that they are in affiliation with him. So I'm just like, wait a minute. You know, this person, you know, has borrowed money from me. This $3,500 amount has returned out of my account. It bounced, meaning that it took $3,500 out of my card.
Can I have you just restate that sentence? That $3,500 for the apartment.
Yes, the $3,500 for the apartment returned, and because my card was on file, they took that amount from my account, putting me in the negatives with my banker, as well as that $550 amount with this new time that elapsed on my Kia vehicle. It's now at $990, and it's affecting, you know, actually my dad's credit because he's the co-signer. So before I could even tell my parents about the catastrophes that were going on, my dad had already went out, and because my car was supposed to be paid off, he's ready to buy himself a new truck. But when he gets to the dealership, they're telling him, no, not only do you still have something to pay on, it's actually behind. So during the time that the sky is falling with, you know, this situation, my parents are on alert too. Like, I thought you paid off your car. What's going on? And I haven't even put together all of the pieces to be able to, you know, let them know, because I really don't know what's going on. And I didn't want them to be on some kind of major alert, But I just let them know that, hey, things are looking really funny with the job. I don't know what's going on, but it's a possibility that, you know, maybe he's a scammer or maybe this is some kind of lie, you know, but I'm going to figure it out. So that's kind of just the end that I left my parents on. And they're just like, hey, you need to figure it out ASAP because it's affecting your dad's credit. What about this Jay Walker person do we need to know? But of course, I had to figure that part out myself. So again, when speaking with Jamarian, which is his name, he's still saying that, hey, you know, I'm waiting on a check. You know, I'm still gonna pay you back. You're all good. It disheartens me, you know, for you to actually believe that I would allow you, you know, to move into this new location and not have any provisions for you. I actually love you. I mean, the depths and extents that he went to were pretty far to prove that, hey, I know it looks rocky right now, but I'm still going to take care of everything. I am who I say I am. Like, never at one point has or did this man break character. He's never said, hey, I'm a scammer. He's never said I'm a liar. He's never said anything but I am who I say I am. I'm Jay Walker. I own this podcast and everything is going to be handled. So actually, the girl that I spoke to had put me in contact with more girls who have had experiences with Jay Walker, and all of them sounded the same. I mean, from the love baiting to the, you know, buying different things, car payments coming back rejected. At this point, I'm just like, okay, there was no truthfulness to this all. Everything was a lie. There was nothing personable about our relationship. There was no God connection. There was nothing. This is something that you've done before, recently, says a lot of these people, and this is something that you're still doing. They said, girl, when he left your home in Atlanta, he was probably walking around finding new people, you know, male and female, you know, to lure in with his success and find more people to get over on. He said, they told me that this doesn't stop. So once we were actually separated, I put on Facebook that I had been scammed and manipulated by an affluent figure in Birmingham, Alabama. And because, you know, I do music and I am a public figure, a lot of people started commenting. And I went ahead and made a group chat with everybody who commented, everybody who liked the post. And I told them, hey, I don't know how to share this story yet, you know, but just know that something is coming. This person named Jay Walker, they did this to me. You know, I'll update the chat when I can, but I just let about 100 people know his name. And when I tell you, I got about 100 different stories about him in that one group chat. I mean, pictures. I mean, they were pulling out so many receipts of, you know, his mugshot, of other situations with other people, even down to the house that he let me see. They sent me an article as to where someone had used a fraudulent check to pay for a house that never closed. And they didn't know till the end that the house didn't close at all and they had to cancel everything. This is the same house that he sent me, that he had his family in, you know, with food. So when the girl called and told me that, hey, that house doesn't even belong to him, and I mentioned these things, you know, I said, hey, these people are texting me saying, you know, this house doesn't even belong to you. He's just like, are you serious? Like, you saw the people inside the house. That was my home. And now at this point, I'm seeing that, hey, like, yes, you do falsify checks and they do go through, and you do take pictures during the whole time to document what's going on. And at the end, the money returns and there's a news article about you. There's a report about you. But for some reason, you're still out of jail. So all of these receipts about who he is coming back at the end. And it's countless. It's countless the number of people that he has affected. So as it pertains to me, you know, I always try to keep a watch on him, you know, as I'm gathering all this information. I never really blocked him. Because I want to see his next moves. I want to, you know, keep this open door rapport with him. And he would message me like, hey, I'm so deeply hurt. I mean, he would email me, I'm so in love with you. You're still my person. God put us together for a reason. You know, I know all these allegations are building. But I will tell you this. You know, I am not employed by iHeartRadio. I'm employed by iHeartRadio Podcast, and that's headquartered in New York. So if you call those particular people, they won't be able to tell you about my agreement with iHeart Podcast out of New York, and everything is still going to work out with your apartment. Just let me know when I can meet you in person to give you cash if that's what you need. So I'm just like, is he gonna give me cash? Is he not gonna give me cash? I don't know where this money is coming from, but I'm in debt bad. You know, like, are you like what's the real deal? Like, are you really gonna give me my money? So he actually had this lady. She was an older lady, and she was from Birmingham, Alabama. He told me to meet her, and that she was going to be someone to actually cover that. I think it was like a $4,000 or $5,000 expense that he owed me. And he was like, she's going to give you the money. When I actually spoke with this lady, she told me that she had no idea what he was talking about, that she wasn't supposed to be paying me any kind of money. I mean, he gave me a total runaround, acting like he was going to come up with the money that he owed me in cash, and he never did. And then I further found out that he has had a lot of relationships with even older women. With women who were police officers. I mean, they said that he's even written fraudulent donations to people who have ran in office and have, you know, convinced them to, you know, date him or loan him money. And he's ran this scam on so many people because he's able to donate and give in these large amounts that later come back as fraudulent. And he said that they told me that a lot of people still cover up for him. So even that lady that I spoke to, I'm really convinced that she is someone as well who was just covering him up in his lies. So I don't think that these plots are anything that he masterminded alone. He spoke of having a lot of different mentors, from Steve Harvey to D.L. Hughley, even to that man who was just arrested. Oh my God, I think his name is like Todd Chesley or Chesley Todd. He said that was a big mentor for him. He was so sad when he went to jail. And when I actually looked him up, not only did he go to jail for, I think, some kind of thing with paying his taxes, but it was also for scamming and getting so much money fraudulent. I'm sorry.
No, you good. That's the all right, I'm rolling on camera on one.
Really, audio.
Speeding. All right. Just 3 questions. What would you say to someone in your shoes now?
To someone who is talking to someone who has been promised a lot of things, or they feel as though feelings are being caught too fast, I would definitely encourage everyone to definitely be prayerful and ask for a sense of discernment concerning anyone that you meet, and to also take heed to all red flags immediately. When someone shows you even a glimpse of who they might be, I would encourage people to believe them instead of giving them the benefit of the doubt. I would also encourage people to keep an open line of communication with someone close. You know, I know a lot of times we go through things and, you know, we don't want to share our personal business. But if you do have a best friend, if you do have, you know, a mom or dad keep them on alert about anything that's suspicious, so that, you know, there will be other people who will be able to monitor the situation as well. But also just to not move too fast with anything. Allow things to actually come back in a way that's 100% verifiable. Like I should have definitely contacted iHeartRadio, you know. Just don't give people the benefit of the doubt, because nowadays, you know, mental health is something that, you know, is now getting more attention, but for a long time people have lived undiagnosed. And in the Black community, there are a lot of people who are living with mental disabilities who don't know it. So to give people the benefit of the doubt that they are sane, that they are rational, that they have the same belief system as you, unfortunately, you know, we have to change that outlook that we give to everyone generally. So just to be cautious, be aware. And if any of your instinctiveness tells you to run, 9 times out of 10, 10 times out of 10, it's God speaking to you.
I think you just answered all 3 in that one go right there. Is there anything that I missed that you didn't touch on? You feel like you covered it?
I think the biggest thing about this now is awareness. Like I said, once I found out that this person had pulled the wool over my eyes, and I told other people, this is something that's ongoing. And because he has not been arrested, because everything is social, he's able to wait till things die down and then attack again. And I am a graduate of Ramsey High School. I did graduate. I'm an alumni of UAB. And this person is centered downtown Birmingham, Alabama. You know, so that's in direct, you know, proximity to both of my alma maters. So I just want to, you know, spread awareness, because not only does he do these things to men, to women, to people his age, my age group, young adults, he does this to older people. Like, he does not have any kind of, you know, limitation on who it is that he tricks or manipulates. So I just really want people to do their job and not treating this like entertainment, but to actually, you know, share, to become involved, so that we can save people. Because we don't know, not only is he hurting people emotionally, financially, but we don't know if he has the means to be deadly either. So this is a very, very serious issue, and I just ask that people do their part in raising awareness about what's going on.
That's it. I think that's it. That's very well said. Good stuff. Oh, what am I seeing? All right.